It finally happened. Racing Point's controversial pink Mercedes has been protested by Renault, and Formula One's world champion team has now been dragged into the investigation the FIA has launched. The similarities of the Racing Point RP20 with last year's Mercedes have been known since the car was unveiled at pre-season testing. Racing Point has not shied away from the fact the 2019 Mercedes was the inspiration for its car design, but it has always maintained it was done legally through extensive photography any other team could have commissioned. But after Racing Point drivers Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll charged from the second half of the grid to challenge for top 6 positions for most of the Styrian Grand Prix, the grumblings have now turned into a formal protest. Racing Point says the protest is misconceived and poorly informed, and that any and all suggestion of wrongdoing is firmly rejected because it cooperated with the FIA and satisfactorily answered all questions regarding the origins of the designs of the RP20. The team is disappointed by the protest but confident it will be dismissed, so let's take a look at what Renault's challenging, why Mercedes has been dragged into the issue, and what happens next. After the race, in which Perez and Stroll finished 6th and 7th, Renault protested both RP20s. It alleged Racing Point has breached the rules that demand teams are responsible for designing certain parts themselves. The so-called listed parts include various components, but in this case, Renault has specifically protested Racing Point's front and rear brake ducts. These only became listed parts for 2020. Before then, it was legal to take another team's brake duct designs. The rules permit a team to outsource the design or manufacture of listed parts to a third party, but the team must retain the exclusive right to use the design and another competitor cannot be responsible for it. Why Renault has targeted the brake ducts is not yet clear, but there are two initial theories. First, it could be that Racing Point was using Mercedes brake ducts before they were a listed part, and Renault believes Racing Point is therefore basing its current design off a part Mercedes has the exclusive right to use under the revised rules for 2020. Or more severely, it could be that Renault believes Racing Point has illegally obtained Mercedes information, and it thinks the brake ducts are proof of that because the design could not just be replicated by using pictures. Ex-F1 designer Gary Anderson has written in an article on the race website that brake ducts would be one of the most difficult components to copy on an F1 car because so much of their complexity comes from what can't be seen from the outside. The FIA has ruled Renault's protest admissible, which means it will be evaluated, but a decision has been kicked down the road so it can conduct a thorough investigation. The front and rear brake ducts of Racing Point's cars have been impounded, and Mercedes has been ordered to provide the same components from its 2019 car for examination. This will allow the FIA's technical department representative to compare the components while conducting a detailed analysis, the findings of which must be reported to the stewards. It's likely the FIA will need access to Racing Point's CAD design logs as well, so it can trace the evolution of the team's parts. The representative must also provide an assessment that matches their findings against the alleged infringements outlined in Renault's protest. When the likely submission date of the assessment can be determined, it will be communicated to the stewards so the next meeting to assess the claims can be scheduled. In short, we don't know exactly when the next public step will be taken, but there will be a lot of ground covered behind the scenes before then. Renault is not alone in disliking Racing Point's approach to its 2020 car, but McLaren has made clear it would not proceed with a protest and has stuck to throwing the odd verbal jab instead. The timing seems curious because Racing Point has always stood by its decision to copy Mercedes, but insisted this only applied to the car's aerodynamic philosophy. Racing Point also said the FIA conducted some checks in the off-season and was satisfied there was no wrongdoing. However, F1 cars are made up of thousands of parts, so there's no guarantee every single detail was checked during that process. There are a few reasons that could be behind the timing of Renault's legal challenge. It may have wanted to avoid clouding F1's highly anticipated return to action amid the coronavirus pandemic with a post-race protest after the first race of the season, a position Red Bull took with the Mercedes DAS system. However, Red Bull's solution to that was to protest at the earliest possible opportunity on the first day of practice of the new season, and it even told Mercedes in advance that it would be doing so. Renault's timing doesn't feel quite so courteous, but it could be that it's taken this long to be completely sure it had a strong enough case for a protest. You can only protest a rival's car at a race weekend, so Renault and Red Bull did not have the option to get these matters cleared up in the time between testing and the delayed start to the season. But Renault could also have waited until the second round of the season to hurt Racing Point after a much stronger performance in the Styrian Grand Prix, which means a successful protest will cost it more championship points. Regardless of the timing, it's no surprise a protest has been lodged, given Racing Point has found a shortcut to occupying a middle ground between the well-established frontrunners and the intense midfield fight. The team hasn't got the most out of the RP20 over the first 2 weekends of the season, but the flashes of pace it's shown suggest the car will be formidable against Racing Point's usual rivals when it really hooks things up. Now a protest has finally been made, months of grumbles have given way to something much more serious. What do you think of this situation? Is it just sour grapes from Renault because it's losing out in the midfield battle, or has Racing Point gone too far with its attempts to copy last year's Mercedes? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, give this video a like if you like it, and remember to subscribe to our channel to keep up with more videos from the race.